Well, hence your constitutional coup in San Francisco. And as I said, just returned from a long trip in Iowa, expected back in February. That's going to be 4 to 6 weeks. Easy case. Victim of crime. My goodness. No injured party, confrontation and cross-examination. No effective assistance of counsel. And the state of Iowa is the plaintiff for crying out loud. Quote unquote state of Iowa by their own admission. And yet Article 3, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, assuming arguendo, it remains in full force and effect. What does it say? In all cases, ALL, in which the state shall be a party, the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction. Trial should have been in my hometown of Washington, D.C., not Keokuk, not Buena Vista. So you're all going to love that, and your state may be the same, quote unquote, state. If it isn't, and they say, for example, the people of the state of confusion, they have another big problem because the people are not mentioned in any of the constitutions purportedly currently in effect now. All they recognize is 14th Amendment birthright citizenship. And what that was and what it is, as you'll learn from getting my materials, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com, is a subordinate corporate body politic. That was the secret intent of the amendment. Nobody who ratified it, with a capital RAT, had a clue about that. And that defeats the amendment without more. The good news for all of you out there is that the 14th Amendment not only doesn't exist, I can prove a cappella off the top of my head it violated all 6 amendments of the Constitution. But that's all they have to deal with. Like in Iowa, Article 2, Section 1, probably paraphrased in your state constitution. What does it say? Qualified electors, quote unquote, are citizens of the United States who reside in Iowa. No, they don't. They reside in the District of Columbia. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. That's how they're doing it. It's all DC, and Congress has a lot more powers in those 10 square miles than they have anywhere else. And yet, if you look at the maps, especially in the boardrooms of the Wall Street banksters in New York, if they could get in there, their maps probably don't have any state lines on them, and they don't need them. There are no states. But consider Article 1, Section 2, U.S. Constitution, assuming it remains in full force and effect, requires all members of the House and Senate to be inhabitants of the state they represent. No state, no state citizenship, no qualified members in either House of Congress, and now for around 140 years. Those are the issues I bring to the table. No, not this bullshit due process. 14th Amendment doesn't exist, only on a very rare occasion they have to make it look good. There's nothing there. And if you're a 14th Amendment subordinate corporate birthright citizen, you have no right to de facto national socialist government is bound to respect. Simple as that. So get over it out there, all you civil rights types and people think you can make progress there. It hasn't worked. It wasn't planned to work. It's never going to work. We have to go after and invoke the elements of the original intent of those racist framers in order to get there and get back to our Republican form of government of defined and limited powers. Not the quote-unquote elected despotism we have today. And my first law teacher described, the democracy we have today: 3 bulls, 2 sheep, voting on what's for dinner. It hasn't gotten any better. And that's what we need to get rid of. And once we do that, and we get back to the Republican form of government in the sovereign independent states, that's magical. It changes the whole equation. Now we're back, and we have all of our rights intact, and the government is now bound by this Constitution and laws enacted in pursuance thereof. That's how good it is. I only wish they would have taught me this 50 odd years ago when I was in school, especially outside of Washington, D.C. Life would have been different, quite different. Well, today, the education system being what it is, you get all this transgender crap out there, and I don't even know what that is. And it's LGBTQ plus. And all this, by the way, is based on federal regional martial law. Rule the 14th Amendment. They want to inculcate even young kids in the second and third grade, and even in some preschools nowadays with all this nonsense, and never teach them a thing about the original intent and the Creator endowed inalienable rights we're supposed to have. Wow, it makes me, on most days, very glad to be in the generation I am. Just turned 75. Life is still ahead of me. And I want to try to make it better for all of you out there and your families and your posterity. You can do it. Send me an email, youwinningcourt@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you with what I offer at a very reasonable amount of money. And it works across the board. Doesn't matter whether it's traffic court, the child procurement syndicate, Inc., family law, homeowners associations, evictions, you name it. Nothing there occurs in a judicial court to which we have a right from day one. That's the big secret they don't want you to know about. And when you realize that, and you get to the point where you now have, your life has recognized value and you have self-esteem, that makes it much better. You can go out there and do to the best of your ability, and make the best life you can. And that's exactly what the framers wanted when they founded this nation and republic. Well, I'm sorry I've run on here a little bit, but you get the idea here. It's a much better nation than it is now. If we get it back to the way it was, we can make changes from there and do it right, but keep most of it on the local level and outside of Washington, D.C. Don't need any of that nonsense there. So it's just all good news, and with the Supreme Court now in its fourth term of an all-out assault on the administrative state, they get it, people. They understand what I'm saying here, and they're sounding more and more exactly like me. I'll be talking more about that later. But we have an unprecedented window of opportunity. It may be extended for the next 12 or 15 years if the Republicans win the quote-unquote election next year, as they figure to do, and we get two younger ones in there to replace Alito and Thomas. So it's all good news no matter how you cut it. That said, remember to subscribe, tell your friends, get the word out. The quicker we act, the quicker we put these bastards in their place. Thank you.